Welcome to the Model of Creation, a series dedicated to Gundam model kits and just plastic model kits in general, including Zoids, frame arms, things of that nature. Today's episode is going to be a kit bash between the Gundam RX-78-4, Master Grade 1.0, and the Liger Zero from Zoids. Now, these are the older 90s kits where the battery-operated or wind-up motors can make them walk, not the HMM posable ones. These are fairly sturdy. Can't really get too much posing out of them. So, I've had this since I was a child. Another friend of mine gave me an extra one, so I decided to cannibalize it for parts to make armor for my Gundam. Now, the Master Grade 1.0s, if you've ever done one, you know, the build isn't that satisfying, especially after doing the 2.0. But it's better than an HG still. But after this build, I still wanted a little more, so I painted them first. Let's get a side-by-side of what he looked like before and what he looks like now. Didn't do too much, just kind of went over the white, made it a little different, did a brighter silver on the gray of his chest and shoulders. And I did a metallic blue instead of the normal blue. Painted the whole shield. Just a few little things. But I still wanted more out of it. So I was looking at my extra Liger Zero and said, that backpack would look really nice on this Gundam. So that was the first thing I did, was just make the backpack be able to fit onto that. It didn't really take too much, because all you have to do is just pop off this backpack. Whenever you do, make sure that you get that poly cap out of there and put that in the backpack for storage. Just clip that back down onto that, so whenever you go to push it back on, it'll go in the correct way. Alright, and we're going to set that to the side. This here, it can just be placed right in that slot. You know, it doesn't look that great, but do a little extra to it, it could look nice. Little extra became a lot extra, and that's what the backpack ended up becoming. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do today, along with a few other little pieces. So, backpack. After I put that up there, I wanted a little more. Saw these wings, just pop those off of there. Took the backpack off. Just glued that right there. After I posed it for a little bit, decided exactly how I wanted it. Glued those down. Now, the sad thing is, the Liger is obviously going to have to be sacrificed. But you're not going to have to change your Gundam permanently at all. All of these parts will be able to snap on, snap off, or just slide on or off. So you're going to let those dry. Now let's see exactly how I put it up there. You're going to pose it with this side down. Just pull it all the way up into it so it's kind of straight. Open face is going to go down onto the back side of that. Okay? Now, I aligned this wing with the bottom of this wing on mine. But you can really put it however you want, whatever kind of look you want to go for. Set it further back, set it further up. Whatever you want to do, make it your own. So after your wings dry, the next thing you're going to want to do is pop these little fins off the side of his head. A lot easier. There we go. And try not to destroy the head in the process, even though we will be destroying the head eventually. While you're on the head, you can go ahead and take off this top piece, the top fin. Because all of this, parts of this, are going on the backpack. You're going to pop out these inner fins from this. Now you're going to take these, and you're going to glue them underneath that. Okay? Now, you're probably going to want to do some filing and make this a little flusher, make it look nicer, because from the side, you can still see a little bit of the extra plastic that wouldn't naturally be there. So, not really a good shot from the side, so you may want to file that down. I didn't. I regret not doing it, but I really don't want to take it apart again. Okay, so after the glue dries on your fins, then you're going to take the headpiece. You're going to cut down this little piece right here, just a little bit. Let's say go about a third of the way on this, and just cut that little strip out of there, so it will sit a little further up on your backpack and seal off the little holes in the side, right here and right here. So you get it set up a little further to where this top piece is flush with the top of this. Like that. That's where you want it. Okay. Then, after you get that positioned right, you're going to glue that down. Alright, so far, of course this is all painted, but we've done the main backpack, we've done the wings, we've done the fins, and we've done the centerpiece. So now, to the back of the centerpiece, we're going to do the tail connection. Now this tail actually pops in and out so he can wield it as a scythe. So, in order to get this tail section, you're going to need to go into the back of the liger. Alright, at the back of the liger, you got a little butt flap here. You're going to pop this off. This is actually going on the backpack as well. Now you're going to pop the tail out. Okay, now this is what the tail connects into on the Zoid. I'll show you a side by side here on what we're cutting out. Okay, so I came in right here at the top of these nubs. Let's see if I can get that to focus a little better. Okay, came in right here at the top of these nubs, cut down this, and across at the bottom. So you want to get this whole little piece here, both parts, and just cut down and across. Okay, now they don't have to be pretty, because this is going to be hidden in the back. Now this is what you want, exactly. Well, can't really get a good view on it that way either. But you just want these two little black pieces. Now you're going to take those two black pieces and you're going to glue those onto the back of the fin. And give that a minute to dry. You're probably going to want to glue them to each other, because whenever I cut them out, they actually came out as two separate pieces. So you're going to want to glue those to each other, let those dry, and then take the whole thing. It'll be a lot easier to work with. And then just glue the whole piece in here to the back of the fin. And the placement's really up to you. All I would say is make sure that it can clear the bottom of this connector, because that's a fairly big connector for him. And where I have is about the highest up you can go, and you don't want to go too much lower, because then you'll be able to see it through these little holes in the fins back here. So just find a good spot, make sure you measure it first, or at least eyeball it. Alright, then the little butt flap that we took off from the top of the tail. You're going to take that, and it's going on the top of this. Right here. And that's to hide the view from the top of that connector. So whenever you have this backpack on them, you can clearly see the top of that. Place that in there, and it covers all that up. Now, it's not quite wide enough. It's going to be a pain in the ass to get that to glue up to the top of this, unless you either cut out a couple of little nicks in this to sit it down in it, or what I did is I had a whole lot of extra just shaved plastic, so I ended up just taking a couple of pieces and gluing those in there to the side as just filler space, and then cutting it down a little bit. But it's whatever you want to do. Just find some way to get it up there without causing yourself a headache. Then the only other thing I did to the backpack is actually something that I didn't have at first. And that's these pieces here on the top. So before, that's how it looked. And I was happy with that for a long time. But I took these off of the front of the liger. And I didn't do any modification to this other than just making sure it was trimmed up nice, and then I painted it. But at first, I had these as leg armor on the Gundam. But it really, really takes away from his posability, and it was a little much. But it makes his leg look a lot beefier, gives him just some extra armor. And it looks alright, but it just, like I said, you can't even straighten his leg out all the way now. So I was trying to figure out what else to do with it, and found out that it actually slides just right onto the back of this. And it just gives you some posability in the backpack. So you can have it anywhere you want on here, and it can give it a different look. Alright, so that's it for the backpack. Make sure that your tail can actually snap into there before you're done with it. Alright, so we did the backpack. Now for some easy ones. Alright, the fins that we took off of the side of the liger's face. And we used these for the backpack. The other part will actually clip on straight to the Gundam's leg. Okay. Just take it, press it right there, and it'll clip on right over the bottom of that. And it just gives the legs a little extra armor, makes them look a little better. Let's see here. The ones I painted, I actually sanded these down just a little bit so they wouldn't pop off quite as easily. But it didn't take too much at all. Then a little coat of paint, make it match the rest. Alright. So, the next thing I did were knuckle blades. Let's go ahead and take these weapons out of his hands. Alright, so to do the knuckle blades, you are going to need to pop off the outside of his hand. Just that piece. Leave his hand exposed. Alright, then we're going to take the back kneecaps of the liger, and then you're going to just cut out the inside of that. Coming from this side and this side all the way to those two edges. And then coming down, give yourself just like a centimeter or two to have a backing. Just cut straight down that. And take out both of those layers of plastic, leaving the top and everything else intact. Your finished product should look like this. Should be hollow in the back, so the back of his hand can actually fit in there. Alright, and then I painted it two different colors just to give it the actual look of blades. And that just snaps onto the back of the hand. So now your Gundam has strike laser claws. Alright, so we've done the leg guards, we've done the knuckle blades, We've done the backpack and the scythe. The beam effect part on the scythe, by the way, is just something I found. There are plenty of things that you can use to make effect parts, and you can just buy effect parts aftermarket. But just anything, and just clip it into the end of the tail. And I just cut that down and placed it in there. And you can pose it either way, give it a different look. Okay, next was the gun while we're speaking of the tail. All I did for the gun was just take this off of the tip of the Liger Zero's tail. I cut out the inside little tab there to make that hollow, just using basic cutters. I always like flush cutters. A lot less stressful on the plastic. Alright, and then I just took a piece of runner. Just the basic runner that all of our model kits come in. Cut out a corner and placed it in there. And gave it a paint job. And now you've got a little prototype beam spray gun for Gundams. Alright. Now, the little heels, I guess. Extra thrusters for the backs of the legs, because since he's gotten all this extra armor on, he needs a little extra mobility too. Alright, so that's the back of the legs there. Now, to get those, it's a couple of parts. You're going to need the top of the foot, top of the lower shin, his shin guard. You're going to need a shin guard. Alright, go ahead and get both of those. And you're also going to need the tops of all of his shoulders? Is it still shoulders if it's the back leg? Feel free to comment. I honestly don't know what you would call that in an animal. Well, let's go ahead and take these off because it's hard to get to those. We are going to need these. Damn it. There we go. Okay. You're going to take all of these off. I'm just going to do two for now because that's a pain in the ass. Okay. So you're getting these off of the shoulders and these off of his shins. Then you're going to just take these, glue them side by side, make them flush as you can. Alright, glue those side by side, and then glue those onto the back of the shin guard. So they look like that right there. But just to give you a side by side on the inside of this thing, I cut down the little tabs that are in there. Cut those off. And just sanded and sanded and sanded to get that as thin as possible so it would be able to slide on and off easily instead of wanting to pop off on its own. Next will be the hip guards. For that, you're going to just take off his normal side skirts here. You're going to need his front shoulder armor. Okay. Grab both of those. Alright, now there's a little bit of modification in this one. You're just going to cut out this peg. Okay. And you're going to save that peg because we're going to need that. So cut that as close to the bottom as you can. Save that piece and then cut out the rest of this strip of plastic. Cut out the other peg and the other peg. Alright? And then you want to just sand that down and make that flush because you're going to be able to see this on the finished model. Alright, but that one you saved, you're actually going to take that and glue it in the middle of this little tab here. Okay? For a side-by-side view, I've got all of the inside of this sanded down. You can still see a little strip. I didn't do that great of a job, but I want to hurry up and finish this. Alright, but this peg is right here. Now, that just happens to be the same size as the holes in his skirt armor. Yeah, you're just going to cut down the inside, do that to both sides, glue the pieces on the bottom to the top, and gives him some side armor. Once again, I just painted these. I used enamel paints on this guy. I'm using acrylics now. I'm about to start the R35 Goph from Build Fighters. That's how it looks in the opposite direction. You can pose them either way. Alright, and something else I did was just to give them a little more codpiece. This is actually the nape of the Zoid's neck. Okay. Just slip that out. And put that over this. Okay. Now this I did cut down a lot. Let's see. It had to be sanded. It had to be cut down to where it's literally just a rectangle in there, and the sides need to be thinner than what the sides generally are. So it doesn't do much in its appearance, but once all the rest of it's on him, it makes a little bit of a difference. Otherwise, you kind of feel sorry for the guy, honestly. Okay, now before we do the chest unit, we have to put the rest of it on because you need the backpack to mount the chest unit to. Alright, so now that we've got everything else on, we can start on the chest unit. Okay, so for this, you're going to need the other back shoulder pieces. And those are going to be right up here. Now you're going to want to trim out the insides of that too, just because this can be seen, so you want to pretty it up a little bit. Alright, now you're also going to need this from the back of the Zoid's neck. And you're going to need the head. Alright, now this is going to be the most time-consuming part of this. Alright, so we're just going to go ahead and take that head all the way apart. Okay, so first thing you're going to do is take off the side armor. You're going to need the top flap, side jaw, other side jaw. Take that off. And the bottom jaw. Okay. Now, I used this for something else before I did this custom build, on just a Zoid smash-up little flyer I built and then painted. The pieces of the Liger's armor just on the undercarriage. Because I had no idea I was going to do this smash-up, but in hindsight, I wish I would have kept these, because it would have looked pretty cool on the side of it. Instead of it being that flat, it would have given it a much better look. So keep that in mind whenever you build one. Alright. So first thing we're going to do is modify the head. And that's going to be a lot of modification. You're going to cut all the way to the back of this right here. Let's see if we can get a little better lighting on that. There we go. you're going to cut all the way to this line. And you're going to get back on that angle and just cut right there. Let's get rid of some of them distractions. Okay. So you're going to cut that to there. Go to the bottom of the curve in the seat. And then just cut back at an angle and make a trapezoid into the back of it. Because you need somewhere for the chest piece of the Gundam to fit. Because that's kind of bulbous out there. So you got to cut that down to where it'll fit in it. Then once you get that cut down properly and make sure it fits properly, then you're going to take the head unit and glue that down to the top. Okay, now once you do, or before you do, you're going to want to cut out just a little bit where the white is. And that's just for the bottom of the Gundam's face. Alright, after you've cut that out, you're going to take the two sides and you're going to glue those to the sides of the head. Okay, and you're going to go right along his little ear here. You want the top of the ear to be flush with the bottom of the fin. And then you want it to just kind of be at like a 90-degree angle to it. And then once you got that positioned correctly, glue that in place. Do the same thing to the other side and let those dry. Once they dry, then you're going to take that nape of the neck there and you're going to just glue that in between them where it fits. Before you glue it, you should try fitting it. Okay. Now the thing about this is, you're going to squeeze the bottom of the nape of the neck and then just push it down in the slits of the backpack. Alright. Just pushes down into the slits once you squeeze it. And then just kind of give that a little push. Fit it up there, adjust it. Okay, so what I originally did when building this chest piece and backpack was try fitting it together like that. Okay, and then I had this in the backpack first, and then I fit the chest piece onto it and saw where the fins met the neck piece. And where the fins met the neck piece is where I glued it. So you want to put this all together first so you know exactly where it's meeting at for it to look right. And then you want to just put a dab of glue on each side, get that to hold. Whenever it's holding, you take it off of the backpack and then honestly add more glue. Add a lot more glue because this is a very, very small part that they're meeting at. And you need a lot of hold there because you're going to be putting stress on this plastic so often if you want to take the armor on and off that it will snap here multiple times. I've actually had to re-glue this a few times, so it's one of the weaker structural points of the build, but it is integral for the armor being able to be put on and taken off. Because otherwise it would be really hard to take this whole chest piece backpack armor off if that was all super glued together. It would be a permanent change. There we go. Okay, and then for the bottom jaw. For the bottom of the jaw, you're you're going to cut off to the back of that first little line. So right here, you're just going to cut that and then just kind of go up at an angle. Alright. And then the bottom of that will just fit into his jaw piece. And then you can pose that however you want. Mouth closed, mouth open, what have you. Right, so after I had him all put together, I found one more piece that I wanted to include. I thought he was a little lacking in guns or thrusters, because this could really be either. This is the double shot cannon on the Liger Zero. Just snapped that out and gave it a little paint job. And that's it, honestly. No other modification. And then this will just slide down into the neck. So now he's either got extra thrusters or anti-pursuit cannon, what have you. Alright, just a couple other things with this build. The original kit comes with an extra big gun and a couple of other shoulder pieces. I wasn't a big fan of the shoulder pieces, wasn't a big fan of the thrusters out of the back, or fuel tanks rather. But I do like the big fucking gun. Alright, I gave it a little bit of a paint job, nothing too much, just kind of made the colors better. Then this will mount right into the top of his shoulder. And it's fairly stable. You know, I wouldn't be playing with them, but you can move them around a little bit. Alright, and the little beam spray gun prototype I made will actually just mount into the other one. Probably need to cut it down a little bit on the handle to make it mount a little better, but I'll get around to it eventually. So now he has all of his weapons mounted on him, including the scythe tail, big beam gun, beam spray gun, knuckle blades. And he has arm Vulcans as part of his normal RX-78-4 kit. And I think that's all I did to him. Something I would recommend would be using these on the side of the head and just experimenting with some of the other parts. This still has quite a few pieces that could be salvaged from him. Thought about doing something with the claws, maybe the foot assembly, something with this piece. But just be creative. If nothing else, I hope this video has inspired you to create your own custom Gunplas, and even your own custom Zoids for that matter, or any model. Enjoyed the video, please like it, subscribe to it, share it. And join me next time. I'll most likely be doing a unboxing of my new R35 Goaf that I just got in the mail, and I'll eventually take you guys through the whole lifespan of this guy. From unboxing to build to customization, painting, and probably some battle damage. So stay tuned, and if you enjoy Gunpla, please comment and let me know your thoughts.